I've been asked quite an important question. What if I have terrible credit? How can I approach investors? And let's be real here. There could be an external reason why you have terrible credit. I have had a year. I have had a year of medical. I got diagnosed with 3 different cancers because obviously I don't do anything by halves. And for somebody who's so energetic and usually really competent and capable, I didn't work. And now I'm very lucky that I had a property portfolio, but it would have been very, very difficult to, because I focused totally on my rehab. I focused totally on getting better. Had you had no savings, a job, I mean, I also couldn't have worked. There were times when I was just lying on the floor because it was too difficult to stand up, not because I was ill, but because of the treatment. And don't get scared if you're going into cancer for treatment, everything was manageable. It just sapped me. So it felt natural, like a cat, to lie down on the floor and talk to my friends when they came to visit me. So I would just lie on the kitchen floor and, Joe would be making himself a coffee. So I've deviated. But what I mean is through no impact of your own, you might have terrible credit, because at that point, frankly, look after yourself, make sure you've got what you need, even for illness. But there may also be a reason why you've got terrible credit, and that may be your habits. And at that point, I would say to you, looking you in the eye and saying, all right, what habits have you got? So before you approach investors and say, hey, would you entrust me with your incredibly hard-earned money? Perhaps you need to alter some of your habits. And there's a really great guy. He did some brilliant TV programs. Now, if you're kind of 25, you probably haven't heard of this guy, but he's fantastic. A guy called Alvin Hall. He's an American dude, but he did a whole bunch of TV programs where he took on people whose money habits were terrible, in that they were dysfunctional for themselves and causing themselves real damage. And with complete compassion and acceptance of who that person was without judgment, yet willing them to improve to a place that was much better for them, he really helped them out. So if you can dig out those TV programs, Alvin Hall, alternatively, he wrote like 4 or 5 books, and they're really good books. They're compassionate, considerate, but nonetheless straight speaking books. And he wrote it from the point of view, he got himself into terrible debt, and now he's doing extremely well for himself. So I would suggest look yourself in the mirror and don't be like, oh, I'm going to solve my problem of not having good money habits by taking on other people's money, because that's a recipe for disaster. And do something about your money habits first, because it is just a habit. It's like anything, isn't it? You can change a habit if you focus on it and work at it, and maybe get a mentor to help you, maybe get some good guidance, maybe get some professional help. So once you've gone past, either it was something like an illness and bless you that you're better, or something like you had terrible money habits and you've actually done some really great inner work on those money habits, but you're still, because your credit score will stay for 7 years, it will slowly drop off. What do? Well, first you try and improve your credit score. And one of the ways is to download your credit score. You can actually do that for free, although they make it the three credit companies make it very difficult for you to do that. They want you paying their subscription, but you can write to them, and in their like small print, they will, I think it's either free or for £1, I forget now. They hide their address well, because they want you paying like £15 a month or £20 a month for a subscription. But you can write, if you're too skint, write for it for free, or do the subscription, and find out what your current credit rating is, and is there anything incorrect on your credit rating. So is a utility bill saying it's unpaid, whereas you've paid it. And even if there are some things that are saying they didn't pay and therefore we're penalising them on their credit score, you can put an amendment into your credit score. Now, it is true that most organisations won't bother reading it, but some will, and it's worth doing everything you can to improve your credit score. So put an amendment in, you have to write in. Also, do all the usual things that you're supposed to do. Get on the electoral register, make sure you've got a credit card, but obviously you always pay it off. Make sure you've got utility bills, make sure you can prove your home address. Do all the things that they say will improve your credit score anyway. I mean, my credit score now, it's 999, yay! But when I was doing property, it was only in the 700s, and it wasn't because I had anything bad. I think it was that I'm not sure why. Basically, I had loads of mortgages. I didn't have any other debt, but it was only in the 700s, and I hadn't not paid anything. But they just judged me that I wasn't as credit worthy because I was taking out lots and lots of mortgages, and therefore they reduced down my credit score. Now it's 999, and I mean, I have more assets, but it was probably the function of being so active with credit at the time. So if it's a no fault, then improve your credit score, and bless you for getting better if you've been poorly, or maybe a divorce or something that, you know, dragged you through the mud. Or if it is you, improve your habits. Alvin Hall, read his books. The guy's compassionate and wonderful and brilliant. And then improve your credit score through your through actually getting your credit report from one of the three bigs: Experian, Equifax, and I've forgotten the third one now, but Experian or Equifax are the two, and the other one, I think it begins with S. And then be open. I was always a completely open book to my investors when they were lending me money. If you have got a bad credit score, any good investor is going to find that out. I mean, I wouldn't lend money to somebody without getting their credit score. You know, we don't let tenants move in without a credit score. We don't let tenants move in without seeing 3 to 6 months of their bank accounts. If I was lending money to somebody, I want to see your bank account. I want to see that you're not in overdraft and you're just going to be like, "Way, I'm off to Spain." So be really open with them and say, "Look, I'm going to be really clear with you. I have a bad credit score, and this is the number, and here's my report, and this is the reason why." So if it was, you know, dragged through the mud or whatever, or if it was I had poor habits and I've been working on those habits and I've strongly changed them, and here's my bank statements for the last 6 months evidencing I'm no longer in debt, or I don't run into overdrafts, or whatever the heck it is, okay? And it will put some investors off, but you morally, in my opinion, have to show that, because most investors don't do enough due diligence. And so the ones that will trust you will truly trust you because of your open honesty. Of course, you've got to keep that credit score improving. You've got to look after their money very carefully. And then the other thing to do is, if you've got a bad credit score, consider doing something that doesn't give the investor more risk with you. So normally I used to borrow, I don't anymore, but I used to borrow quite a lot of money directly from investors, and then you pay for houses. But perhaps you might just flip together. So the investor always owns the property and you get paid, but that you never need to join names, and the investor always has control of the asset, if you like, because it's in their name. You just put a restriction on it so they can't rip you off. So there's, and the other thing is, of course, deal package, to bring in cash to aid with any kind of debt that you need to pay down to rebuild your credit score as well. So there are ways around it. It's not like, you know, let's just pretend it doesn't exist. You've got to tackle things head on, but, you know, face your fears, work your way through. You'll find a way through, because if you are determined to leave the past behind and move forward, well, that'll work for you, as long as you commit to a day-to-day improvement, if you like, and honesty. So I wish you well. All right, if you want to know more about raising private finance, over here you can click on and download immediately my fundraising pack. It is stacked full of everything I use to raise millions of pounds. Well worth downloading now.